Welcome to the scorching arena of valor and the crucible of courage. This is the Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob. Here, in the inferno of life's greatest challenges, heroes are shaped and legends are born. Every episode is a torchlight of wisdom, casting a glow on the paths walked by those who've braved the flames and emerged stronger. In this furnace of fortitude, we'll explore tales of resilience, bravery, and the unyielding human spirit. Each guest brings their own spark of insight, lighting up the darkness and guiding us through the smoke of adversity. With Fireman Rob at the helm, prepared to delve into conversations that smolder with significance and stories that kindle the soul. It's not just a podcast, it's a beacon for all who seek to rise from the ashes and glow with purpose. So stoke the fires of your curiosity and ready your heart for tales of triumph and transformation. The flames are roaring. The stage is ablaze. Welcome to the Forged in the Fires podcast. Let the journey begin.
All right, welcome back to Forged in the Fires podcast. I'm your host, Fireman Rob. Today's guest, well, he's a good friend of mine. He is an amazing individual who has been in many different positions at many different companies, but right now he has the right stuff. And that is a pun intended because he is the CEO of the right stuff. It's serious hydration for serious athletes. But my friend, David Belaga, thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
So I want to go back because I think most people don't understand your history, and we'll get into the right stuff. But I want to go back to your childhood and your parents and kind of that whole part of your life and how it shaped you as a person as you went on through your life. And you've worked at many different companies, but how did your childhood really shape who you are today?
Well, that's a big one. That's a big question.
That's a deep question.
Yeah. I guess what I will open with is that I was blessed to have a couple of amazing parents. So just to give you the quick background, my dad, to start with, was, to say the least, a rather intelligent, extremely well-educated, bright man who, just to give you a feel for it, graduated with an undergraduate degree in chemical engineering from Johns Hopkins and a master's in chemical engineering from MIT at 21.
Yeah, that's a little good.
Yeah, and then he goes on to first of all in the Air Force for a little bit, and then to Polaroid, and then a fairly extensive stint in the oil and energy industry, and retired from that field at 53, and then like myself, he ran other businesses beyond that in financial services, among others. And then he also did quite a bit of help in community service with multi-county support projects.
Jeez. And
then, if not at least as impressive, is my mother. So again, I got burdened with two amazing parents. My mother graduated with a degree from Syracuse University, became a school teacher for a few years, then stopped working to raise her children, then got involved in local politics, actually became the Republican candidate for governor of the state of Connecticut back in the 80s. Awesome. And then did quite a bit. She was a big environmentalist and
Mhm.
she was actually appointed by George Herbert Walker Bush as the regional director of the EPA in charge of the Boston Harbor cleanup in that area. And then when Bush lost to Clinton, she did one of the sort of amazing things, and she was also appointed by Democrat president to the Exim Bank, where she eventually became the chief operating officer of the Exim Bank.
That's,
Um,
that's amazing.
so,
Well, but
yeah.
but but you're not so shy yourself because I'm gonna give you this. You're an IU grad.
Yep.
Yeah, but I mean that's okay. I mean, if you went to Wisconsin, that would have been better. But I won't hold that against you. But you've also went to the business school at Emory.
Yep.
Now your whole, I mean, you had these successful parents and you yourself are successful. How did that ride when you started your business career? Did you have that mindset like I need to find success, or was it more or less you had that support network and that understanding of what success was?
I think it was a combination of both. Certainly, um, knowing the success of your parents lays down a gauntlet, if you will,
Yeah.
uh, but also having their support, especially with starting the business, was really a linchpin to building the success of the business as it is today.
Yeah. And then we got to go into the right stuff because that's a huge part, and it's such a amazing foundation that you built off of this amazing hydration product. I want to go into the beginnings of this. Where did it start at, and how did you begin this adventure into this hydration?
So let me back up a little bit. Earlier in my career, as you mentioned, I worked in a number of the, shall we say, Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies,
Yep.
including the likes of Pepsi, Hallmark, um, eventually working for companies that became part of GlaxoSmithKline and Wyeth/Pfizer. And during that phase of my career, one of my roles was with technology, licensing and technology transfer, and had dabbled a little bit in working with Amazon back then. And
Okay.
frankly, as I moved down the proverbial food chain to smaller companies, the bug to do to start up a business on my own continued to grow. Uh, and really, I had successfully helped grow one company. I got there, it was doing about 16 million, and 4.5 years later, had grown it up to about 62 million and sold out to private equity. And it was at that point that my wife and I started talking about starting something.
Right.
The sort of initial germ of the idea, I had spent a bunch of time looking at. NASA has literally thousands and thousands of patents, but the way their structure is set up is it's decentralized. So every science center, Johnson Space Center,
Right.
Ames Research, et cetera, has their own database.
Huh.
And I spent dozens of hours going through all these. And candidly, I was looking at Ames Research database and kind of came on that proverbial aha moment. Living just outside of Boulder, Colorado, we're talking about the epicenter for the endurance training market
Right.
of athletes, but it's also 5,000 feet of elevation, so it's altitude. It's also the high desert. It's also down the road from the U.S. Olympic Training Center, and it was seeing this hydration technology licensing opportunity. It was sort of a classic aha moment. So
That's a
just
yeah. It's a lot
go
of
ahead.
research that goes into that. I mean, that's like you said, like the number of hours to sort through and figure out what one was best. Being in that area, how did that next process go through to be able to say, hey, I want to capture this and make a successful business out of it?
So the process of getting a license from NASA is challenging. Not because of NASA, but just
Yeah.
because of the duration. So the way it works is when you identify a technology you want to license from NASA, you reach out to them, and they have a technology transfer group, and the mission is to commercialize uh, the technologies that they develop. But the challenge is they want to make sure that they are actually commercialized.
Right.
In other words, they don't want large corporations coming in, buying up their patents and just sticking them on the shelf as competitive to the technologies that they've got.
Right.
So the process, you send in initial application, which basically is a simple process that says you're viable. You have the resources in order to be able to commercialize. Then once you've gotten that phase one, then phase two is you have to present your business plan. And that document that I developed was about 150 pages, based on research of the market, research of the opportunity, and certainly the understanding of how to go to market and sell the product. So you get that submitted, and then you start the negotiation process, back and forth. The first thing that happens is they present you with the licensing agreement, which, just to put that in context, I had done 10 or 12 of those throughout my career, and they're typically 3 to 5 pages. And the first version from NASA was dozens and dozens of pages. So,
to try to get everything under you.
exactly. So you go back and forth legally and from a business standpoint, and you think you're getting in the home stretch, but you're not, because at that point you really do start determining the licensing financial agreements. How much do you have to put up front, what's the royalty, how long, etc.
Right.
And even then, once you get that done, then it's got to go through the system, which means that it gets through all the layers of NASA, literally getting all the way up to the director to sign off on it. Wow. This whole process took us about 13 months, and according to the team over at NASA, was actually one of the faster ones that they got completed.
Jeez. Now, what did all these things that you went through, finding the patent, the product that you wanted, going through the 13 months, what made you believe in this product?
Again, the basics of the marketplace, meaning, we're in the endurance athlete market and the high desert. The fundamental was there, but then I also did quite a bit of qualitative and quantitative market research as we were refining the formula, as we were refining the target audience, as we were refining the go-to market approach, allowing the market to tell us how best to commercialize.
Right.
Not just me, based on my experience, saying let's do it.
And it wasn't an easy start. It's one of those things when people start a business, they really don't understand what it takes to kind of level or scale it at first. What, from your perspective, what was it that was the difference maker that made this scale for you and made this successful?
Well, I think the number one key word is patience.
It's a hard one for people.
Yeah, even when I put together the original business plan, recognizing the speed of adoption was significantly slower than I had hoped. But the good news is, at least in the early years, well, in the out years too, we never got any major major negatives about the product. Certainly, the credibility of NASA behind it helped that a great deal.
Yeah.
But the feedback from the market was quite positive, and really the limitation was driven more by resources, both manpower and money to spend on marketing, that kept the trajectory slower, but slow and steady, significant growth.
Right.
Every year minus the pandemic.
Yeah. But what now people are going, okay, well, why is it different than other products? What makes the right stuff for athletes, for soldiers, for first responders? What is it that makes that different for those athletes to be able to use this?
Well, again, this formula was developed by NASA, and it was created because the astronauts suffer severe dehydration when they come back into the gravity of Earth.
Right.
So NASA was not just looking for a little thirst quencher, they were looking to solve a significant problem.
Right.
And so they spent over a decade doing dozens of studies to refine and optimize the formula. And that's really the point, is that this formula is backed by an entire portfolio of highly detailed studies, but more importantly, as I like to say, NASA was platform agnostic. If one of the products that was on the market had done the job the best, that's what they'd be using. Or if one of the other formulas that they developed in their labs had outperformed everything else, that's what they've been using. But this is the formula that outperformed every other product that they tested.
Right.
And so, but as we move forward, many years out, we now kind of are at the point where when we talk to athletes or first responders, it's something like this. We can tell you about NASA, we can tell you about all the clinical studies, we can tell you about all the high school, college, professional, Olympic first responders that are all using it because it's so effective. But at the end of the day, put it through your own good, tough, challenging test to see how effective it is for you.
That's what makes a great product, is when you're not scared about having people try other things, figure out what works best for you, because at the end of the day that the product is the best. The right stuff -usa.com, you can go and find out more. But when you look at how you've grown the business, and I want to focus on you from the standpoint of, like, what would you think your parents would think about what you've done with this, and how you've fostered the effort that you put in to be able to create this successful business? What do you think your parents would think?
Well, actually, they unfortunately have passed away the last couple of years, but up until that point, they were always extremely proud. That's awesome. Extremely enthusiastic. And one of the things that my dad used to say all the time is he did his whole career in the corporate world, and from a very analytical engineering perspective. But he said to me and to my mom a number of times that there's no way he could have done what I'm doing.
Wow.
And extremely proud of the success that we've achieved.
Was that? I mean, that had to make you feel amazing.
Without a doubt.
I mean, that's such an amazing thing that you've created, such an amazing thing. I'd have to say, as a person, you exude that energy, that the belief that success is out there. What do you think is the next iteration of David? What are you looking to do next with your life?
That's a really good question. It's one that I actually ponder regularly. And before I started this business, I was doing quite a bit of early stage startup business consulting, and that gave me great joy to help guide people because one of my core philosophies is it's not about knowing the answers, it's about knowing the right questions to ask. And a
Right.
lot of people that jump into the world of entrepreneurship aren't really as aware of that specific challenge. Where do you go to get the questions to make sure that you avoid the pitfalls and the traps of trying to launch a business and scale a business?
Yeah.
So probably back to helping consulting with other early stage and growth companies is probably the next um, platform for me.
I honestly thought you were going to say, don't know the right stuff to ask. I was so prepared for you to say that, David. I was like, oh, he's going there. He's going there. Oh, he didn't go there.
You didn't go there.
Maybe next time. Maybe next time. Well, David, it's such a pleasure to have you on. It's such an honor to have you as a friend. And, make sure you go to the rightstuff-usa.com. You can get your right stuff. It's also on Amazon. Make sure that you understand what you're doing with your body. And I think David has explained why this is so important to you. And David, I have 3 questions to ask you to end this podcast. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. If you could go back to your 18-year-old self, which was like 3 years ago, right? And and give yourself one piece of advice, what would that be?
Wow. Probably, again, back to what I said, the one key word to the success of these businesses is patience. The world, unfortunately, does not typically progress on your schedule.
So true. So true. All right. The second one, everybody has challenges and struggles in their life. And what would you say, what is 2 habits that you should incorporate into your life? What would you say to the 2 habits that they should incorporate into their life to continue to move forward, to continue to live towards those dreams?
Well, certainly, I think having a positive, healthy, proactive attitude is critically important.
Oh, definitely.
Um, not not allowing those or said a better way, using those challenges and those stumbling blocks and those roadblocks to impel you forward, not to stop you, would probably be the most important thing you could do.
That's huge. I love that. All right, this last one's gonna be fun, David. Ready? If you could have coffee at a firehouse table, so in other words, any question you can ask, it's going to be answered with 3 people that can be deceased or alive, who would those 3 people be?
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, being a sports fan, there that's probably the realm that strikes me of as most interesting, because what I've found, especially in this business, is that they tend to be goal-oriented, enthusiastic, loving challenges. Your audience may be too young to remember, but you certainly can look it up. But one of the people that I have a great admiration for is a former Major League Baseball commissioner who was also involved in the Olympics and also built a multi-$100 million travel business. Was a gentleman by the name of Peter Uberoth.
Yes.
And he would definitely be one of the people that I would love to spend some time with.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
The others, I don't really have any go-to. I mean, certainly presidents or politicians, senators, things like that might be really interesting.
No specific go-tos?
Well, being a lifelong, as I like to say, intractable hardcore centrist, um, and having grown up in a Republican household,
Yeah.
uh, I think one of the people right now that's probably interesting to me would be somebody like a Mitt Romney.
Oh yeah.
Uh, um, so that's probably that covers that, and then somebody in the world of medicine. I'm going to probably screw up the pronunciation of his name, but he's written a number of medical books and is very interesting. As Atul Owanje. I
I don't even
I
know
don't.
what.
Yeah, he's written some really interesting books about disease and
Oh
how um, medical profession can do a better job on protecting themselves,
wow. I,
and
I,
and the patients.
I was gonna say, David, that firehouse table, man, that's gonna be the smartest firehouse table I've ever been at.
Atul Gawande, maybe. I have to look that up.
I love it. I love it. Well, make sure you go to the right stuff usa.com and find out more. David, it's always a pleasure to have you on. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening and supporting the Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob. Remember, don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast. And please share this episode with a friend or family member. To find out more about Fireman Rob, or if you have a question, go to www.firemanrob.com. Until next time, live your life forged in the fires.